Our vocabulary for section 3.2 is equivalent fractions and simplifying fractions. Equivalent fractions are simply bigger or smaller than the initial fraction. And simplifying fractions means that we are going to reduce it all the way down to the smallest unit that we possibly can. So let's take an example of that. So let's say that we have 6/8, and we can make that smaller. So we're going to, what goes into both 6 and 8? Well, we both notice they're even, so we can take 2. So we're going to divide the top by 2, and we're going to divide the bottom by 2. So how many 2's in 6? 3. How many 2's in 8? 4. So we have simplified this fraction. They're equivalent, they're the same. This is 6/8, that's 3/4. They're the same, but this is simplified. And that's what we're going to do 98% of the time when we're working with fractions. We're always going to use the smallest variable. So on problem number 1 in our homework, we have 8/12. And again, we're going to simplify this fraction. So what goes into both 8 and into 12? Well, 4 does. So we could divide the top by 4. We're going to divide the bottom by 4. So what we do to the top, we do to the bottom, or what we do to the bottom, we do to the top. Same thing. How many 4's in 8? 2. How many 4's in 12? 3. So this 8/12 is simplified to 2/3. Problem number 5 is 18/20. So what is the biggest number that goes into both 18 and 20? Or any number, really, that goes into both 18 and 20. Well, they're both even, so I know that I can take 2. So if I divide each, the top and the bottom, by 2, that gives me 9/10. Now notice when we are dividing, 2 over 2 is really 1. That's why they're equivalent. Because all we're doing is reducing this fraction. This becomes 9/10. Well, let's say we had 20/40 as a fraction. And we can do it a couple of ways. Let's say we don't know that the biggest number that goes into both 20 and 40 is 20. And let's say, they're both ending 0, so I'm going to divide this by 10. What I do to the top, I do to the bottom. So how many 10's in 20? 2. How many 10's in 40? 4. But I notice I'm not simplified all the way, so I have to reduce it again. So I'm going to divide each by 2. Again, I'm just simply reducing by 1. So how many 2's in 2? 1. 2's in 4? 2. So I have to get to this answer, but I can do it in a couple of steps if I need to. It doesn't really matter. Would have been faster if I had this, and I knew or I saw that 20 goes into both the top and the bottom, and I would have 1 and 2 when we did our math, but it's okay to do it this way. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So let's say that we had an improper fraction. Say we had 88/40. This is problem 26. You can do it a couple of ways. So what is the biggest thing that goes into both 88 and 40? Well, I know that at least 4 does, so let's go ahead and divide that by 4/4. And then there are 22/10. Okay? And then we have to reduce again, because I'm not all the way down. So 11/5. Okay? And since we've just learned how to simplify improper fractions, we can take this down the rest of the way. How many 5's in 11? 2. And then that uses up 10, and then we have 1/5 left over. So we can reduce this all the way down. Say we had 700/800. This is problem 38. Well, gee, they're both double zeros, so I know that I can divide by 100. Well, how many hundreds in 700? 7. How many hundreds in 800? 8. And I'm simplified in one step. But let's say we didn't know that for sure. and then we started with the same fraction, and we divided by 10 because we saw it ended with a 0, which is perfectly acceptable. So then we would have 70/80ths, and then we have to reduce by 10 again to get our 7/8. If you need to do 2 steps or 3, that's okay. If you can do it in 1, that's okay too. Whatever works for you. The whole page is exactly the same procedure. So if I have 36/39ths, I notice that 3 goes into both of those. So divide by 3 on the top, I divide by 3 on the bottom, and I ended up with 12/13. That's simplified all the way. I'm done in 1 step. Whole page is like that. Go slow and easy, and have fun.